Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. I hope the week's gone well. Plenty to talk about. Congo's Ebola outbreak is now the second largest in history, the World Health Organization says. Number of cases has reached 426. That includes 379 confirmed cases and 47 probable ones. So far, this outbreak, declared on August 1, has 198 confirmed deaths. The alarmingly high number of infected newborns in this outbreak is another concern and so far a mystery. In a separate statement on Thursday, WHO said so far 36 Ebola cases have been reported among newborn babies and children under 2. I wrote about this in 2014 when I said Ebola is all about its escape velocity and that viruses of this type exhibit non-linear and exponential characteristics. Conflict armament research said South Sudan arranged for the Ugandan government to provide end-user assurances for purchases of weapons and ammunition from Bulgaria, Romania and Slovakia. We have a paper trail from point of manufacture through export to Uganda, through diversion to South Sudan, and to the recovery of the weapons on the battlefields, said James Bevan, head of CAR. Andrew Koribiko, I enjoy reading and always has an alternative view, says, why is the West painting Tanzania's president as the latest African tyrant? He says the mainstream media is ginning up an info war campaign against Tanzania's president. He talks of the ignoble present-day distinction of the South African-sized nation of over 55 million people being one of the most foreign aid-dependent countries in the world, where Western financial support accounted for an astounding 33% of government spending in 2010 to 2011, signaling the amount of leverage they have. And then talking about how, in fact, China's first modern-day Silk Road was the Tazara Railway that Beijing funded in the 1970s to connect to the copper-rich anti-apartheid state of Zambia via their shared socialist ally Tanzania. The coastal country still functions as an irreplaceable Silk Road transit state in China's contemporary grand strategy. But its exploding population prospects also make it attractive for reasons of its future labor and consumption potential, be it in as a cheap offshore manufacturing center for Chinese companies and or a marketplace for their overproduced goods. Talks of the info war efforts could potentially be focused on exacerbating the pre-existing ethno-regional tensions in the offshore semi-autonomous region of Zanzibar in order to provoke post-election violence that could be in turn manipulated to make the vote seem scandalous, thereby triggering further Western sanctions and contributing to Tanzania's incipient hybrid war destabilization. He says, in conclusion, there are still many destabilization scenarios that could transpire before them, including the spread of Mozambican-based terrorism northwards all along the Swahili coast and externally exacerbated separatist tendencies in the semi-autonomous offshore region of Zanzibar, but provided that Tanzania applies, he says, the proper democratic security measures for countering these hybrid war threats, then it might emerge as one of East Africa's leading states sometime in the future. Tanzania's current account deficit widened by $966 million to $2.15 billion in the year ending September 2018, compared with $1.193 billion in the same period in 2017. South African all shares down 13.05% this year. South Africa's rand heads for its best November in 3 decades. Biggest monthly gain against the dollar this year, best November in 30 years, gain of 8.1% this month. Rand certainly move around. This is a 6-month chart. Last time I looked, we were at 1366, but I think we peter out again here. World Bank expects Nigeria's economy to grow slightly less than 2% this year. Nigeria's emergence from this recession remains sluggish and sectoral growth patterns are unstable. In the second quarter of 2018, the oil sector contracted by 4%, the bank said in a statement. Interestingly, but worrying statement from Nigeria's Army Chief Tukur Buratai yesterday says the military's noticed more foreigners fighting for Boko Haram in the last few months, and they're using drones more regularly against the army. The Nigerian oil share is down 19.96% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 1.03% this year. The sharpest quarterly real GDP contraction in at least 10 years in Mozambique in Q3. Mining dipped 23%, Mark Boland. Very interesting article in the Africa Report about Airtel and Safaricom. Airtel Kenya is cutting prices to eat into Safaricom's market share, but it may not have a big enough war chest and sufficient patience to succeed in knocking the Kenyan telecoms leader down a notch. We are seeing a new price war coming, Colin Moore told a press conference in Nairobi days before Safaricom's main competitor Airtel Kenya had slashed call rates. Airtel wants to trade revenue for market share. And then talk about in its 8 years of operation, Airtel Kenya has never made a profit despite the growth of the telecoms and mobile money markets. Airtel Africa, the continental subsidiary within which Airtel Kenya operates, has only begun reporting positive margins recently, with its profits for the first quarter of 2018 tripling to $154.2 million. And then talk about M-Pesa's rapid growth has been Safaricom's ticket to success. The mobile money platform has given a mere telecoms company a commanding role in the new ecosystem that links telecommunications and financial industry. By offering such a compelling service, money transfers, payments, and now deeper banking services, it has made Safaricom to offer more sticky marketing jargon. Very good article, do take a read. M-Pesa to send cash direct to China's WeChat users. M-Pesa users are now able to send cash instantly to users of China's largest payment and social media application, WeChat. This will enable 23.946 million active M-Pesa users in Kenya to send money to over 1 billion active WeChat subscribers in China. Majority of Kenya's imports come from China and have been growing steadily over time, according to the Economic Survey 2018. When I wrote about Safaricom's half-year earnings, I said Safaricom have tweaked the M-Pesa ecosystem with good effect. They've made the M-Pesa garden richer, the average users transacting 12 times a month, and have increased retention and circulation in the ecosystem. And I said this is a very big deal. Safaricom share price data is there, and please note M-Pesa revenue grew 18.2% through the half-year mark. You can see how that growth was broken down in this image of M-Pesa revenue. 22nd of October, I called it the most successful startup ever. Today, the Bank of Kigali, the largest lender in Rwanda, cross-lists its shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Kenya Power breaches terms of $60 billion, that's $600 million, of loans. Breached the terms attached to $59.96 billion worth of its short-term and long-term loans, signalling a biting cash crunch at the state-owned electricity distributor. Firm, whose total borrowings were $113 billion as at the end of June, breached debt covenants for $49.99 billion long-term loans, $9.98 billion of short-term debt, prompting the Auditor General, Edward Ouko, to qualify its financial statements. Kenya Power reported full-year results, which I thought were slightly better than I expected, but maybe my expectations by that stage were so low. Share price data is there. Trades on a trading P of 3.571. Nairobi Business Ventures is to list new stock on the Kenyan bourse. It barely trades and it's worth the grand total of $318,000. Kenya shilling 102.46. Nairobi All Share down 15.12% year to date. NSE 20 down 24.83% year to date. Thank you kindly.